In the summer of 1958, Richard Loving and Mildred Jeter drove from their home in rural Virginia to Washington, D.C. to get married. Shortly after returning home, they were arrested. The problem? Well, Richard was a white man, and his wife Mildred a black woman. And by getting married, they violated Virginia's ban on interracial marriage. Simply because of the skin color they were born with, they had to leave Virginia to avoid long prison terms. This seems crazy today, but here I am, denied the right to marry the person I love. The U.S. prides itself in the freedoms and the liberties of its people, but many states, including Georgia, deny gay couples the right to marry. And the U.S. must legalize same-sex marriage to uphold its tradition of championing individual rights and looking beyond stereotypes. So today, I'd like to talk to you about why same-sex marriage should be legalized according to the Constitution. Then I'd like to look at how denying same-sex couples the right to marry is discrimination. And I'd like to finish up with discussing some of the common arguments made against same-sex marriage and point out their flaws. So what does the Constitution say about same-sex marriage? It doesn't say anything at all. But the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment says that no state can deny a person life, liberty, or property without a legal hearing. And here in Georgia, there is no such legal hearing given to same-sex couples. There's merely a state constitutional ban on same-sex marriage. And by not giving these legal hearings to same-sex couples, Georgia and many other states are in violation of the Due Process Clause to the U.S. Constitution. There's also the Equal Protection Clause of the same amendment. And the Equal Protection Clause says that all states must guarantee equal protection of the law to all citizens. And marriage grants certain protections that simply aren't given to non-married couples. These include continued Social Security benefits after the death of a spouse and inheritance rights. And by denying these protections to same-sex couples, again, many states, including Georgia, violate the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. All citizens are guaranteed due process and equal protection. It doesn't matter your race, your religion, or your sexual orientation. We can't say that we love and respect the Constitution, but then choose to ignore the parts that come to a conclusion with which we're uncomfortable. And not only is denying same-sex couples marriage rights a violation of the Constitution, it amounts to discrimination. Discrimination is essentially treating people differently based on a criteria out of their control. Just as the ban on interracial marriage was discrimination based on race, so too is the ban on same-sex marriage discrimination based on sexual orientation. If the government is willing to treat its people differently, what stops its people from doing the same? We know that discrimination has serious effects. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, their website, cdc.gov, said that in a 2009 study, 60% of gay high school students felt unsafe at school due to their sexual orientation. Not only that, they were more than twice as likely to have attempted suicide as their non-gay peers. We saw this in the case of Tyler Clementi in September of 2010. Tyler was a student at Rutgers University who jumped to his death after his roommate recorded him kissing another man and aired that footage over the internet. But the dangers of discrimination are not only internalized. In 1998, Matthew Shepard was a college student living in Wyoming who was beaten, tortured, and murdered simply because he was gay. All people deserve equal rights and respect. You don't have to like homosexuality or even homosexuals, but it's not an argument to treat them differently. There are many arguments made against legalizing same-sex marriage. You can't discuss gay marriage without discussing religion. While religion is a valid personal reason to oppose homosexuality, it is not a valid legal reason to ban same-sex marriage. Religion doesn't regulate law. We wouldn't enjoy a ban on pork and shellfish to ensure a kosher diet. Freedom of religion is a founding principle of our government. The First Amendment of the Constitution says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And if we're denying same-sex couples marriage rights based on religion, this is an establishment of religion and law. We have to uphold people's religious beliefs, but we can't allow religion to infringe on the rights of citizens. Another common argument I hear against legalizing same-sex marriage is that homosexuality is a choice or unnatural. And if you want to get married, you simply choose to be straight. However, since 1991, we've known this to be false. In that year, Simon LeVay, a neuroscientist, published a study in the Journal of Science. And in his study, LeVay looked at the hypothalamus, a region of the brain known to regulate sexual behavior. He found that the section of the hypothalamus is equivalent in gay men to straight women, or roughly half the size of those found in straight men. This suggests a biological difference in homosexuality and homosexuals. Homosexuality is not a choice. It's a variation in the genetics and behavior found in humans. I would also pose the question, if you were straight, when did you choose to be so? We don't wake up one day and choose our sexuality any more than we wake up one day and choose our favorite food. You like what you like. And so if we know that homosexuality is not a choice, and that religion can't be used to ban same-sex marriage, there are no grounds left in opposing its legality. So what can you do to help make same-sex marriage legal? You can contact your legislators, both local and national. Let them know that you support same-sex marriage. You can join the Human Rights Campaign, an online organization fighting for marriage equality. But most of all, support your gay family and friends, and you know that you have them. Let them know that you support their right to marry. We know that same-sex marriage must be legalized according to the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. We know that denying same-sex couples marriage rights is discrimination. And we know that homosexuality is not a choice. It's just a variation in human behavior. All people deserve the same rights and respect. As Mildred Loving once said, I believe all Americans, no matter their race, no matter their sex, no matter their sexual orientation, should have that same freedom to marry. I wish I could say that Bridget and Mildred Loving had a fairy tale, happily ever after ending. But in June of 1975, after 17 years of marriage, Richard was killed by a drunk driver. After my partner of 5 years was hospitalized 2 years ago, we both realized just how unpredictable life can be. I would like to have my happily ever after here, in Georgia, with my family and friends. But until same-sex marriage is legalized, my partner and I are essentially as unwelcome in Georgia as the Lovings were in Virginia in 1958. Please join me in ensuring all Americans have the same freedom to marry, regardless of how they were born.